Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well. It's a beautiful day in Cornwall. The weather is absolutely glorious today. There's this huge blue sky and the sea is like a mill pond. It is so beautiful. I'm by myself, or I should say it's myself and Hugo and Bertie Boo. Ray has gone to Ireland. He left on Friday morning. And do you know what? I missed him even before he left. A whole week without my husband. I've got plenty to keep myself occupied. Let's talk about needlework because that's why you tune in to my Flosstube every week. I often get messages and emails asking me to show photographs of my stitching nest. Well, I thought rather than do that, I would show items that are in my stitching nest. And I picked up 2 items off my little side table to show in this video. The first one is a drum. And a drum is really useful. It's decorative, but you can actually, put your pins and needles into it as well. This one is Dancing with Your Heart. And it says, dancing with the feet is one thing, but dancing with the heart is another. And you have all these dancing ladies and a gentleman playing a guitar. And this was finished by Faye Rigsby of a Carolina Stitcher. And Faye actually showed a post on Facebook and Instagram a few weeks ago of 4 of these that she's finished for Hats customers. Now, the design is actually a standalone sampler, but we just felt it was perfect to be finished into a drum. The dancers, they're swirling around, and that sort of movement lent itself to something that was rotatable. Is rotatable a word? Faye finished the little pin keep into a tambourine to reflect the tambourines that the ladies are holding. And Faye put some little rings on the little pin keep, and she added colours that are found in the design. It was just a brilliant finish by Faye. Anyway, that's one of the things that sits on my table next to my chair. And the other thing that now sits, because this has just come, is this scissor stand. And this is from Italy, and the lady sells on Etsy, and I'll put the name of the store here for you. I've got quite a few of these wooden pieces. They really are lovely. The quality is fabulous. And I've got my scissors in that I'm sort of currently using. You will notice I've got 2 of the new colours. I have got the pink as well, but that's on another scissor stand. I've got the what they called on their site Kohana yellow, but that's not a yellow. It's just such a beautiful colour. It's like honeycomb. It really, really is. And I've got this really lovely scissor fob thread keep on here, and this is made by Minnie McBean's Needlework Fripperies. Very, very pretty. I love it. I love pretties, and I just think that these are delightful. I love all the charms and all the dressing, and I get a huge amount of pleasure at looking at these things as well as using them. I particularly like the red ones that Minnie McBean's is doing, and if you like these too, Jean at the Attic actually has these in stock at the moment. The numbers are limited, but if you contact the Attic, they have got these in stock at the moment. They're really beautiful. I love Pandora. I love all those charms, and you know, when you wear a Pandora bracelet, I love the way that the charms clink and move and the way they feel on my arm. And that's just what I feel about these. They're thread rings really for your floss drops, but they're also really great to put on your scissors. And when I pick these up to use, I love the way these feel in my hand. So pretty. And the ones that Sue, Minnie McBeans, have been doing, they're all slightly different with the charms and the beautiful crystals and all the little things that she's putting on them. Really, really lovely. So, you know, reach out to Jean at the Attic if you're interested in these. They do look really beautiful on my scissor stand. I love them. I just love pretties. Anyway, I've got quite a few samplers to show you. Thank you to everybody who has purchased the chart for Amelia Batchelor. She's proved to be very popular in the last 10 days. This is a very, very pretty sampler. And in last week's Flosstube, when I showed her, I mentioned about the scales, and you know, it was the zodiac sign for Libras, and I've had so many Libras contact me to say how they're excited to be able to stitch a sampler with their star sign on there. I think that probably Amelia didn't stitch it because it was a sign for Libra, but yeah, it's so lovely. And so many people have said how they have really enjoyed reading Amelia's story. And I mentioned that when Amelia sort of retired from being a cook, she lived in Alma Vale Road in Clifton, Bristol. And I had an email from a lady who now lives in Australia to say that when she was a teenager, she actually lived in that road. And I just thought, what an amazing coincidence. It was a really funny thing. There were 3 coincidences from my Flosstube last week. The second one was that I received an email from the judge that judged the show that Louise had entered Anne Morrison in, and I just thought it was just an amazing coincidence that the judge in Australia actually watched my Flosstube, and she said that it was a delight to judge Anne Morrison. She said Louise's stitching was exquisite. She said that her tension was perfect, and there was no evidence of thread carry or where she had stopped and started her thread. I'm often asked about how you make your work neat, and really it's all about taking care. And you know, the way you stop and start your threads, it's so important. Like, you might not think that the back of your work has an effect on the front of your work, but it really does. I do quite a bit of judging of needlework in competitions, and you know, you'd be surprised what you can see and what you can notice just from what you can tell is on the back from the front. That probably sounds a bit odd, but there we are. I'm going to be at a show in July, and I'm not judging this one because it's a local show. I couldn't be a judge because it's actually in the area that I live, and I'm going to steward the needlework section. And being a steward, I get the chance to have a really good look at people's work, and I know I'm going to see thread carry. So that is the biggest thing to avoid. That's the big pitfall if you want to enter your work into a competition. It's great fun, and I'm sure that no matter where you live, there will be shows that you can enter your work in. The villages in Cornwall, they have, like, you know, an annual summer fete where people enter all sorts of crafts and baking and flowers and vegetables and woodwork, all sorts of things. Our local show, it's a fabulous day out. It really, really is. I couldn't be the cookery judge because, gosh, you have to sample so many different cakes and all savoury things as well. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Let's get back to needlework. I'm trying to think what the third email was that was a coincidence, but I can't. So excuse me. This week, Ray and I had to go to Wales for something to do with our family, and on the way we passed Nailsea. I can't go past Nailsea without thinking of Sofia Doggett, so I'm going to show you this sampler today. Now I hope I'm not boring you because I have talked about Sofia before, but she was one of the samplers that I acquired from the Fella collection. When Liz and Mike contacted me, gosh, when was it? It wasn't last year, in 2020, to say that they were moving and downsizing and they were going to sell some of their samplers. I really had to think very sensibly about what samplers I wanted to acquire. And Sofia was one of the ones that I chose. Probably, well, one of the reasons was that my family has connections with Nailsea, so it was an area that was relevant to my family history, but also I felt that this was a very beautiful Quaker sampler. This motif here in particular is really, really stunning. I love all of these little motifs. They really are very, very pretty, and it was such an honour to reproduce her, to be able to share her with you, and it's been really lovely to see the finishes that have been coming through on this sampler. One lady actually stitched this sampler entirely over one. The sampler is stitched over two, with the exception of the dedication, which is over one, but you can actually stitch this over two. I did that. I charted this over two for somebody who wanted to stitch this sampler on Ada, and we had to sort of reposition the wording slightly, but we managed to get it all in over two. So if you would like to stitch this sampler but want to stitch it entirely over two, if you contact me, I will share the recharting of Sofia Doggett, Nailsea, 1804. 1804, it's a long, long time ago. A beautiful sampler, and just two colours. You know, if you want to start stitching on linen using silk, this sampler is a good one for you to have a go at. You know, two colours, it's not a huge investment if you've never stitched with silk before. So pretty. This week we saw a really beautiful finish of Mary Wigglesworth by Tonya Hartnell. And Tonya used the Overa Soie silks, and she did use a different linen, and I just thought her finish was so beautiful, and I was very grateful that when I reached out to Tonya, she gave me permission to share her finish with you. I think it's always nice to see other people's work. It's very, very inspiring. Mary is a very, very pretty sampler. I stitched her on creme brulee, and I really love this linen. I think it showcases this sampler very, very prettily. It's just a great sampler. My eye sort of bounces all around because there's just so many beautiful things. I love this row at the top and the border, and I love all these beautiful, elegant motifs, and this sampler is a very harmonious sampler, and it really spoke to me. And Tonya also said that it really spoke to her. You know, it sort of reached out to her heart. I think that this sampler is very harmonious, and it's a very tranquil, peaceful sampler, because I think that Mary has stitched part of her soul into the design. When I was charting her, there was some really lovely vibes coming from the original, and I really felt that Mary was speaking to me. It could also be that Mary was 58 when she stitched this sampler. She was a mature woman, and maybe that maturity is reflected in the layout of this sampler and the way that she chose her colours. It's a really funny thing. We have a saying in the UK that, you could wait for hours for a bus and then several come along all at the same time, and that is so true. I had never reproduced a sampler stitched by an adult before, and then all of a sudden we had 3 samplers that came about that were stitched by mature women. So we had Mary Wigglesworth, aged 58. Then we had Mrs. Campbell. Now, we don't know how old Mrs. Campbell is, but the fact that it's a Mrs. means that she's an adult woman. And obviously, I think that Mrs. Campbell was a needlework teacher because of the message, keep your work clean and pay attention to it. And then we had a 3rd sampler. Now, this sampler hasn't been released yet, and it was stitched by a lady that was 82 years of age. She put R. Sheard. Now, I'm not really sure how to pronounce her name. It's Sheard. But I know that the R stands for Rachel. So this is Rachel Sheard, I'm not really sure. If you know how to pronounce that name, let me know. Now, this sampler is going to be releasing probably towards the end of the year, but as a special release that involves somebody else. So this isn't going to be on general sale initially. A few years down the line it will be, but when I'm able to, I will share more information about when and how this sampler is being released if you wish to get a copy. I have 2 more samplers to show you. This one is Mary Carter, and this is my friend's Mary Carter, and I have just covered some personal information on the sampler because it's not for sharing, but isn't this beautiful? My friend stitched Mary Carter on 56 count linen. The model was stitched on 40 or 46 count linen. This is a beautiful sampler. I've got it here because I stretched and laced it for my friend and arranged for framing. My frame is here, it's Sully's in Penryn, Falmouth, and they are so good with framing needlework, and they will do it via the post as well, in case you're looking for a framer in the UK. I'm taking this to London with me this week, and I'm going to give it to my friends. So I just thought I would share that with you before it went. This is a stunning sampler. With Mary, it's not just these beautiful colours, and the colours are really fabulous and very different, but the bands that she stitches in the sampler, they are all so beautiful. And yes, we see this band, this arcaded band, but when you start to look at some of the dividing bands that appear through this sampler, I've not seen them on other samplers before. And it was a joy to reproduce this sampler because it was something different, something new. You weren't charting a motif that you had charted before. Charting for me is a journey, and it's all very much part of my needlework journey, and on a journey it's nice to see different things as you're travelling through, and this certainly was a very different band sampler. I'm not sure if next weekend I'm going to be able to make a Flosstube, just because of some personal things that we have on. So I thought, as this might possibly be the last Flosstube in this month, that I would show you the Queen of the May again. This was released to celebrate May Day, and this is another really stunning sampler. It's a Norfolk, and Sarah Reams, I'm sort of 99.9% certain, was a Quaker, and I love Quakers and I love Norfolk, so this was like ding dong. It rang every bell. A beautiful sampler, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this sampler being stitched. It was an honour to add this sampler to our portfolio. With the hats portfolio, we've really tried to offer a breadth of different designs, different eras, different genres, and samplers, for everybody. And so it doesn't matter whether you have never stitched at all before, or you've cross-stitched but you've never stitched a reproduction sampler, or you are a very experienced stitcher. You will find something for everybody in the hats portfolio. We're always looking for different to bring to you. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, even though I am away and I'm going to be doing it long distance, on Thursday we do have a new release, so look out. I will post on Instagram and Facebook the new release, and it's already with stores and with our distributors, and it'll all be announced on Thursday. It's a sweet little design. It's going to be a great travel project for you for the summer. I'm sure that many of us now are thinking about what we're going to do this summer. The way COVID is now, we can have summer holidays, although in the UK, the queues at the airports are absolutely horrendous. There's been some terrible photographs of terrible queues, and I think they said at one airport the queue to check in was 1 mile long. That's absolutely crazy. But this is all to do with staff shortages because of COVID. COVID's got an awful lot to answer for, and I think that it also takes the blame for an awful lot of things as well. What else have I got to talk about this week? I haven't done much stitching. I've done a little bit, but not a lot. When we went back to Wales, it wasn't really, I didn't really have any opportunities to stitch, and I knew that, so I didn't actually take anything with me. And a lot of my time this week has been, I've been writing again, just really in the mood for research and writing. It's funny how it goes. The backstories with reproduction samplers, it's such an important part of what I do with hats. Yesterday evening, I spent, I don't know, it was a long time. It might have even been 2 hours on a video call with a lady who is starting to design and reproduce samplers, and it was a real pleasure to help somebody. When you start off, it's such a steep learning curve, and I was very lucky. When I started, I had needlework friends who were my mentors, and it was really nice to be able to help somebody. And we were working our way through a thread legend with conversions, and it was just great. It was really lovely, sort of doing that sort of task with somebody else, and helping somebody with their first design. It's really exciting that, I think it must be because of the internet and social media, because needleworkers are connecting from all around the world. We're inspiring each other, and it's really lovely to see how many people are having a go at designing samplers and reproducing samplers as well. The more choice that needleworkers have, the better. And I also think it's really important that these samplers, they are brought tonight, you know, that these girls are talked about, their stories are told, and, you know, we're inspiring the next generation of needleworkers by us sharing our work on social media. So post away, show your needlework, share your needlework. You know, we've got a message to get out there in the world. We really have. Okay, I've got the boys here very patiently waiting for their walk. We're going to do another big walk today. I promised them when their daddy was away that we were going to do some real sort of super duper walks, and it'll also make up for me not being with them in the week. I often get asked about what happens with dogs when we're away. We would never ever put our dogs into kennels. The dogs always stay here, and our friends Gary and Joy come and stay in the house with them. And Joy and Gary are big walkers, so the dogs will have a great time with them this week. On Thursday, I'm going to see the 150th anniversary of the Royal School of Needlework's exhibition. I don't know if photographs are allowed, but if they are, I will take photographs and share them with you. Obviously on Thursday as well, we've got our new release, so keep an eye out on the Hat's social media pages. Thank you so much for listening to me this week. Have a good week ahead, and stay safe and stay well. Bye-bye.